knees. Right now, in front of your kid.
This is my son's birthday. You're crossing a line.
This looks like a ghetto circus to me. Know your place, Daddy's boy.
Daddy, please, don't make him kneel.
Heroes don't cry, especially fake ones.
Break up this welfare birthday party. These people don't belong in our park. Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell storms toward the celebration. With the confidence of someone who has never been told no, her boots pounding against the concrete like a declaration of ownership. Without warning, she grabs the edge of the birthday table and flips it violently. The impact sends shockwaves through the pavilion. 8-year-old Marcus's Spider-Man cake explodes across the concrete, red and blue frosting smeared like a cruel parody of celebration, splattering plates of food, juice boxes, and neatly wrapped presents. Mitchell doesn't stop there. She stomps on gift boxes with deliberate cruelty, crushing toys inside as if the sound itself satisfies something dark and buried within her. "Look at all this food bought with taxpayer money," she sneers loudly. Making sure her voice carries while hardworking Americans struggle, parents scream and scramble, diving forward to shield their children. Small hands clutch at shirts and legs as fear ripples through the crowd. Mitchell kicks over folding chairs, metal scraping harshly against pavement, and rips down decorations with savage efficiency. Balloons burst, streamers tear. What had been a beautiful birthday setup moments ago becomes a wasteland of destruction in seconds. Joy erased and replaced with stunned silence and sobs. Her eyes lock onto a tall, handsome black man standing near the pavilion, his broad shoulders tense as he freezes mid-motion. He had been hanging streamers, adjusting them just right for his son. He turned slowly now, his face composed but tight, a mask of controlled fury as he watches his child's special day being annihilated piece by piece. "You the one responsible for this ghetto circus, boy?" Mitchell spits, stepping closer, invading his space. "Time to shut it down and learn your place." The father doesn't move. His hands tremble slightly at his sides, not from fear, but from the sheer effort it takes to remain still. His jaw tightens as he stares at the ruined party, at the crushed cake, at his son frozen in confusion and shock. One phone call will change everything these officers think they know about power. But for now, he says nothing.
Hours earlier.
James Thompson had been the picture of a devoted father, moving with calm precision as he prepared the perfect birthday celebration. He navigated Druid Hill Park methodically, checking every detail with the care of someone who understood that memories mattered. The red and blue streamers hung at exactly the right height. The picnic tables formed a perfect rectangle. Even the placement of each folding chair seemed calculated for maximum joy and comfort. "Baby, you're being obsessive again?" Maya Thompson called from across the pavilion, her voice warm with affection, and the gentle teasing earned through 8 years of marriage. She was arranging gift bags, each one labeled with their son's name in careful cursive. Yet her eyes kept drifting back to her husband and his constant surveillance of their surroundings. James paused while hanging the Happy 8th Birthday Marcus banner, his gaze automatically scanning the park's entrance, the tree line, the parking lot. Old habits died hard, especially when those habits had kept him alive for 15 years in federal law enforcement. But today wasn't about Agent Thompson. Today was about Dad. "I just want everything perfect for Marcus," he replied, adjusting the banner one final time. He's been talking about this party for weeks. The community had started arriving an hour ago. James knew each family by name. 8 months of carefully constructed normalcy had built these relationships. Mrs. Washington, from 2 blocks over,
Us.
whose arthritis flared in the humidity, but who still brought her famous potato salad to every gathering. The Johnson twins, whose father worked double shifts at the shipyard just to afford school supplies. Young Kesha's grandmother, who made the best cornbread in East Baltimore and never missed a community event despite her failing eyesight. James had memorized their stories, their struggles, their hopes. It was on just good cover for his undercover assignment tracking Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell's corruption network. These people had become his people. He'd attended church services with them, helped fix broken porch steps, driven elderly neighbors to medical appointments. Every genuine moment of connection made the deception weigh heavier on his conscience. Marcus burst from behind a tree where he'd been playing hide-and-seek with his cousins. His Spider-Man shirt already grass-stained from an afternoon of pure 8-year-old joy. He crashed into his father's legs with boundless enthusiasm, nearly knocking over the cooler full of juice boxes.
Dad.
This is the best birthday ever." Marcus looked up with eyes full of complete trust, the kind that believed his father could fix anything. "All my friends are here, and Mom made my favorite cake with the web design, and you even got the Spider-Man decorations I wanted. And Mrs. Johnson brought those cookies that taste like heaven." James knelt to his son's level, fighting the familiar tightness in his chest that came with living a double life. Every innocent question Marcus asked about his construction job felt like a small betrayal. Every time his son proudly introduced him as my dad who builds important buildings, the lies grew heavier. "You deserve the best birthday, champ. You only turn 8 once," James said, ruffling Marcus's hair. "Did you thank Mrs. Johnson for those cookies?" "I already did," Marcus replied proudly. "And I helped Grandma Washington set up her folding chair because her hands were hurting today." James smiled, even as his trained eye caught movement at the park entrance. His hand instinctively shifted toward his concealed badge, the motion so ingrained he barely registered it. The FBI shield rested in his jacket pocket beside his service weapon and an emergency beacon disguised as his wedding ring. 8 months of surveillance replayed through his mind, Mitchell taking envelopes of drug money from known dealers. Recorded conversations filled with racist rants. Audio files where she called community gatherings breeding grounds for criminals. Network of corrupt officers who treated their badges like licenses to terrorize black neighborhoods. Maya's voice cut through his thoughts, low and firm. She had learned to read his micro-expressions after years of watching him return from cases that left invisible scars. The subtle jaw shift, the tension in his shoulders, the look that meant danger. "Not today," she said quietly. "Whatever you're thinking, not today. This is Marcus's day." James forced himself to breathe, to relax, to stay present. The surveillance photos on his phone could wait. The investigation consuming 8 months of his life could wait. Today was about his son and the community that had embraced them as family. "You're right," he said softly, pulling Maya Thompson close and kissing her forehead. Maya smelled like the soft vanilla perfume she'd worn since their college days. Back when life had been simpler and James's biggest worry was passing his criminology finals and figuring out how to afford dinner dates. He inhaled deeply, letting the familiar scent ground him, anchoring him to the version of himself that still believed the world followed rules. "Today I'm just dad," James said quietly, more to himself than to her. But even as the words left his mouth, unease curled in his stomach. In 8 months of living in this community, building relationships, earning trust, and secretly gathering evidence against Baltimore's most corrupt police unit, he'd developed an almost supernatural sense for danger. The kind that didn't need logic, the kind that had saved his life more times than he could count. The hair on the back of his neck stood up for no identifiable reason. Marcus tugged at his father's hand, his excitement unstoppable. "Dad, come on, they want to start the treasure hunt." James let himself smile as he followed. He'd hidden Spider-Man stickers and small toys all around the pavilion earlier that morning. Carefully designing a map meant to keep the kids entertained for at least an hour, while the adults relaxed, laughed, and enjoyed the rare peace of community. It was supposed to be simple, innocent, safe. As they crossed the grass, James's phone buzzed. Without thinking, his eyes flicked to the screen and his blood turned to ice. "FBI handler, Mitchell's unit just received a dispatch to your location. Anonymous noise complaint filed 20 minutes ago. This wasn't random. Your cover may be blown. Abort, if necessary." James stopped walking. His training snapped into place instantly, cold and precise. He scanned the scene again not as a father, but as an agent. Children laughing while hunting for treasures, parents chatting about school fundraisers and broken streetlights. Maya lighting candles on Marcus's chocolate Spider-Man cake, its web pattern piped with loving care the night before. And suddenly, with crystalline clarity, he understood. They had been set up. Someone inside the Baltimore Police Department knew exactly who he was and exactly where to find him. The only question was whether the order came from Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell herself or someone even higher in the corruption chain he'd been quietly unraveling. His cover was blown, and his family was here, surrounded by innocent people who trusted him. People who had welcomed him into their homes, shared meals with him, prayed beside him, never knowing the man they called neighbor was a federal agent whose investigation could send dozens of cops to prison. The distant wail of sirens cut through the afternoon air. James slipped the phone back into his pocket and forced himself to move calmly toward his son, his face betraying none of the federal storm about to descend on their perfect afternoon. "Marcus," he called, his voice steady despite the chaos pounding in his chest. "Come here, buddy." Before he could reach him, 3 police cars rounded the corner and tore into the park with unmistakable aggression tires grinding. Engines snarling, presence dominating everything. Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell had arrived to destroy everything they'd built. She stepped out of her patrol car like a predator that had finally cornered prey. Her boots struck the asphalt with deliberate force, each step announcing dominance. Officers Barnes and Cruz flanked her, hands already resting on their weapons despite the reality that they were facing a children's birthday party. They moved across the park with the swagger of men and women who had never faced consequences. "Well, well, well," Mitchell announced loudly, her voice slicing through the pavilion. "Look what we have here." Parents instinctively pulled their children closer. "Anonymous complaint," Mitchell continued, her eyes sweeping the crowd. "Noise violations. Illegal gathering." "Funny how you people always seem to think the rules don't apply." She surveyed the decorations. The food, the families with theatrical disgust, her lip curling. This whole setup reeks of welfare fraud. Who's paying for all this food? Hardworking taxpayers, I bet. Mrs. Washington, 73 years old, and a retired school teacher who had devoted 40 years to educating Baltimore's children, stood slowly from her folding chair, her hands trembling but her spine straight. "Officer," she said calmly, "this is just a child's birthday party. We have every right to be here." Mitchell's eyes locked onto her with predatory satisfaction. "Did I ask you to speak, Grandma?" she snapped. "Sit your welfare ass back down before you get yourself in trouble." A sharp gasp rippled through the crowd. James felt his jaw clench involuntarily, his fists tightening at his sides. But he forced himself to remain motionless near the gift table. 8 months of surveillance had prepared him for Mitchell S. Racism, but hearing it directed at people he cared about felt like physical blows. Officer Barnes moved toward the food tables, eyes gleaming. "Looks like a health code violation to me, Lieutenant. Okay? All this uncovered food sitting out in the heat could be dangerous." "You're absolutely right," Mitchell said coolly. "Public safety hazard." She nodded toward the buffet Maya and the other mothers had spent hours preparing. "Better dispose of it properly." Barnes swept his arm across the table. Potato salad, fried chicken, homemade sides. Everything crashed to the ground in a disgusting mess. Children started crying. Maya's Spider-Man cake hit the pavement with a wet splat, frosting exploding outward. "Oops," Barnes said with a grin. "Accidents happen when you don't follow proper food safety protocols." Cruz joined in, flipping over the gift table. Wrapped presents burst open across the grass, paper tearing as toys spilled out, Tatum's chosen with love and sacrifice. Marcus's new soccer ball rolled toward the parking lot. Art supplies scattered. Books slid through the dirt. "This is what happens when Section 8 people try to have nice things," Mitchell announced coldly. "Reality has a way of reminding you where you belong in society." James stood frozen, watching his son's special day being systematically destroyed. Every instinct screamed at him to reveal his badge. One word federal would end this. But his training held him in place. Blowing his cover now would compromise 8 months of investigation and potentially allow the entire corruption network to escape justice. And so he endured. For now. Maya appeared at his side, her hand slipping onto James's arm as if instinct alone guided her. She could feel the tension radiating from his body, the barely controlled rage vibrating beneath his skin. This wasn't anger born of ego, it was the fury that came from watching innocent people suffer, from seeing children terrorized and elders humiliated. "James," she whispered urgently, her voice tight with fear. "Don't think about Marcus." But Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell had already noticed him. His stillness stood out like a challenge. While other adults backed away, scattered, or tried desperately to make themselves invisible, James remained rooted in place, calm, unmoving, unbroken. To Mitchell, it looked like defiance. She approached with the focused attention of a shark sensing blood in the water. Where? While reviving your robber, she demanded, stopping inches from his face. I noticed you standing there real quiet, while everyone else is appropriately concerned about our presence. That makes me suspicious. James met her eyes without flinching. His face remained composed, his posture relaxed, his voice carefully neutral. Just trying to give my son a birthday party, officer. No trouble intended, your son. Mitchell's smile twisted into something vicious. So you're the one responsible for this illegal gathering? The one teaching these children they can ignore authority and do whatever they want? She gestured broadly at the destruction around them, the ruined decorations. The sobbing children, the adults now lifting their phones to record despite knowing it might make things worse for them later. Look at this mess, she sneered. Look at what you've caused by thinking you could just take over public property without proper permits. Officer Cruz had moved behind James. The positioning wasn't accidental. It was textbook intimidation, the kind meant to provoke fear or worse, a reaction. James clocked it instantly. Years of federal training sharpened his awareness, even as his heart pounded. With the knowledge that his family was trapped inside a hostile perimeter, they wanted him to react. They wanted justification. We have every right to use this public park, James replied evenly. The pavilion was properly reserved through the city. Mitchell burst into harsh, mocking laughter. Reserved by who? With what money? Her eyes flicked down his clothes with calculated contempt. Let me guess, another welfare scam where taxpayers foot the bill for your entertainment. She pulled out her citation book with exaggerated slowness, flipping it open like a judge preparing a sentence. Unlawful assembly. Disturbing the peace. Failure to maintain proper food safety standards. She glanced up, savoring the moment. Should I keep going, or are you ready to admit this whole thing was a mistake? Behind them, Barnes had found the small cooler where parents kept personal items. With no hesitation, he dumped it upside down, sending purses, wallets, car keys, and cell phones spilling onto the concrete. Searching for contraband, Barnes announced loudly. These gatherings are always covered for drug activity. That's an illegal search without probable cause. Called out Mr. Johnson, a man who worked 2 jobs just to keep his family housed, but who had never missed a community meeting or school event. Probable cause? Cruz stepped toward him aggressively. Your attitude just gave me probable cause, smart mouth. You want to end up in handcuffs in front of your kids? The systematic humiliation continued for 10 agonizing minutes. Mitchell's unit moved through the families like occupying soldiers. They demanded IDs, questioned legal status, treated American citizens like criminals in their own neighborhood. Elderly women were forced to empty purses with shaking hands. Teenage boys were questioned about gang affiliations. Every black man present was subtly, or not so subtly treated, like a parole violation waiting to happen. James watched it all, his hands clenched so tightly at his sides, his knuckles burned. This was the exact racism he had documented for 8 months. The same patterns, the same language, the same abuse of power. But this wasn't surveillance footage. This was his community. This was his family. This was his son's birthday. The breaking point came when Mitchell turned her attention back to James. Her interest sharpened rather than satisfied. You know what bothers me about you? She said, circling him slowly. You're too calm, too controlled. Most people get nervous around real authority, but you're just standing there like you think you're equal to me. She stopped directly in front of him, close enough that he could smell stale coffee and cheap cologne on her breath. Time to teach you some respect. Her predatory smile widened as she studied him. In 8 months of terrorizing this community, Mitchell had learned how to read fear, how to identify the exact moment when resistance collapsed into submission. But this man was different. His stillness felt dangerous, not defeated. And that infuriated her. What's wrong with you? She snapped, stepping even closer. Cat got your tongue, boy? I'm talking to you. James's training warred violently with his paternal instincts. Every fiber of his being screamed to reveal his federal badge. To watch her arrogant smile crumble when she realized she'd just assaulted a federal agent's family. But 8 months of investigation hung in the balance. Dozens of corruption cases depended on his silence. I'm listening, officer, he replied carefully, his voice betraying nothing of the storm raging inside him. Listening? Mitchell laughed sharply. Your son's watching you be a coward right now. She pointed toward Marcus. What kind of man are you? What kind of father lets this happen without saying a word? She gestured again at the wreckage, the scattered presents, the sobbing children clinging to terrified parents. Marcus stood frozen near the ruined cake. Chocolate frosting splattered across his Spider-Man shirt. His 8-year-old mind struggled to understand why adults with badges were being so cruel. "I asked you a question," Mitchell shouted, ensuring everyone could hear. "Are you too stupid to answer when a real citizen addresses you?" Barnes positioned himself behind James as Cruz moved to flank him from the left. The formation closed in, designed to make him feel surrounded, small, powerless. "Officer, I'm just trying to give my son a birthday party," James said, his jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. "We're not causing any trouble? Not causing trouble?" Mitchell repeated with exaggerated disbelief. "You've taken over a public park without proper permits. You've created a health hazard with improperly stored food. You've disturbed the peace with excessive noise," Mitchell continued coldly, her voice sharp and performative, "and now you're showing disrespect to lawful authority." She reached to her belt and pulled out her handcuffs, letting them dangle inches from James's face, the metal clinking softly as she rocked them back and forth. "Maybe sometime in lockup will teach you the proper way to address your betters." Maya stepped forward instinctively, fear crashing into her protective instincts. "Please, officers," she said, her voice shaking but determined. "There's no need for this. We'll clean up and leave quietly." Mitchell turned toward her slowly, eyes lighting up with vicious pleasure. "Did I ask you to speak, sweetheart?" she said, smiling thinly. "Seems like this whole family has problems with authority. Maybe you need to learn your place too." "Leave my wife alone," James said quietly. Something in his tone, low, controlled, edged with something dangerous, made Barnes's hand drift toward his weapon. Or what? Mitchell stepped closer to James, invading his space until her breath hit his face. "You'll do something about it? You think you're man enough to challenge real authority?" She glanced around the pavilion, ensuring every phone camera, every terrified parent, every wide-eyed child was watching. "Everyone," she announced loudly, "watch this." This is what happens when people forget their place in society. Mitchell grabbed James by the shoulder and shoved him forward with brutal force. "Down where you belong," she barked. "Show everyone what you really are." The federal agent and James calculated odds, assessed threat angles, tracked officer positions, and evaluated escalation protocols in milliseconds. But the father in him felt something far worse: the eyes of his 8-year-old son, watching this humiliation unfold. The community leader in him saw neighbors he loved witnessing what looked like his complete powerlessness. He lowered himself slowly to his knees. His hands trembled not from fear, but from restrained fury. "That's better," Mitchell declared triumphantly. "This is the natural order. Authority on top. Criminals on their knees." She began a theatrical pat-down, her hands deliberately rough, invasive, lingering where they didn't need to. When her fingers reached his jacket pocket, they closed around something solid. She paused. Well, she said slowly, pulling out the leather case. "What do we have here?" James's heart slammed into his ribs. 8 months of carefully maintained cover hovered on the brink of collapse. Federal cases worth millions in prosecution threatened to evaporate in seconds. Mitchell opened the case, glanced at the gold FBI shield, then burst into laughter. "Look at this pathetic shit," she announced to her officers. "This fool's got a fake FBI badge. He's probably bought it online to impress his welfare girlfriend." She tossed the badge case into the dirt beside the destroyed birthday cake. The genuine federal credentials landed in chocolate frosting and grass stains. "Fake police badge possession," Mitchell continued smugly. "That's another felony charge right there." Barnes and Cruz laughed openly. "Probably thinks he's in some kind of movie," Barnes said. "Maybe we should call the real FBI," Cruz added mockingly. "Report someone impersonating a federal agent. That's serious business." Mitchell ground her heel into the badge case, pressing James's authentic credentials deeper into the dirt. "Stop pretending to be somebody important," she sneered. "You're nothing but another unemployed baby daddy living off government handouts." Marcus had been watching everything. His father, the strongest man in his world, was kneeling in the dirt, while strangers mocked and humiliated him. The 8-year-olds couldn't understand undercover work or federal investigations. He only knew that bad people were hurting his daddy. "Leave my daddy alone," Marcus suddenly shouted, breaking free and running toward the officers. Maya lunged forward, catching him just in time, wrapping her arms around her son as he struggled and sobbed. "Marcus, no. Stay with Mommy." Mitchell turned toward the crying child, her cruelty sharpening. "Control your little criminal," she said coldly, "or I'll do it for you." Maybe some time in foster care would teach him proper respect for authority. "Don't you dare threaten my child," James said from his knees. This time there was no mistaking the steel in his voice. "Threaten?" Mitchell smiled, pure malice stretching across her face. "I don't make threats, boy. I make promises." She pulled out her radio slowly, savoring the moment. "Dispatch, this is Unit 23. I need child services for a welfare check. Suspected neglect and endangerment. Parents appear under the influence and creating unsafe environments for minors." The lie rolled off her tongue effortlessly. James realized with chilling clarity that this was routine for her. How many families had she destroyed this way? How many children ripped from their parents by fabricated reports? "You can't do that," Maya cried desperately. "We haven't done anything wrong. I can do whatever I want." Mitchell replied with absolute certainty. "I'm the law here. The law says your family doesn't belong in a decent society." She keyed her radio again, also requesting backup for multiple arrests. Disorderly conduct, resisting authority, impersonating a federal officer, whatever else I decide to charge him with. James remained on his knees. His real FBI badge lay crushed in the dirt beside him. His son sobbed in his wife's arms. His community watched in horrified silence. The corrupt lieutenant who had spent 8 months destroying innocent lives had no idea she was about to face the full weight of federal justice. But not yet. Not until his family was safe. It's not until these good people were protected from retaliation. For now, James Thompson knelt in the dirt and let Sarah Mitchell believe she held all the power. The sound of additional sirens filled the air. 2 more patrol cars screeched into the park. Disgorging officers who approached with the casual confidence of predators who had never faced real consequences. The birthday celebration had fully devolved into a scene of systematic terror. Families huddled together while their children watched authority figures destroy everything they had worked to create. "Shut this whole thing down?" Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell commanded her reinforcements with cold authority. "Illegal assembly, health violations, disturbing the peace. I want every adult identified and processed." Officer Barnes responded immediately, kicking over the remaining folding chairs with deliberate malice, metal screeching against concrete. "Should we tear down all these decorations too, Lieutenant?" he asked loudly. "Looks like a fire hazard to me." "Absolutely," Mitchell replied, without hesitation. "Public safety first." Her smile was predatory as she watched. Barnes ripped down streamers and stomped balloons under his boots. The cheerful birthday decorations James had hung with such calm measured, aligned, chosen to bring joy, were reduced to colorful trash scattered across the grass. Nearby, crews had found the cooler containing party favors. He dumped it upside down, sending small toys, candy, and Spider-Man stickers skittering across the concrete. "Contraband search," he announced with mock seriousness. "These gatherings are always covers for illegal activity." Mrs. Washington, still seated despite Mitchell's earlier commands, spoke with the quiet dignity of someone who had survived decades of institutional racism without surrendering her self-respect. "You have no right to do this. This is a legal gathering in a public space, right?" Mitchell snapped, whirling on the elderly woman with renewed viciousness. "You think you have rights? You think your welfare benefits come with constitutional protections?" She stepped closer to Mrs. Washington's folding chair, looming deliberately. "Stand up when I'm talking to you, Grandma. Show some respect for real authority." "She has arthritis," Maya said desperately, clutching Marcus tightly to her chest. "She can barely stand without help." "Did I ask for your medical opinion?" Mitchell shouted, her voice sharp enough to make several children burst into tears again. "I said stand up. Now." Mrs. Washington struggled to her feet, her joints protesting audibly. The pain was visible, undeniable. And yet she stood straight-backed and proud, meeting Mitchell's glare without flinching. The dignity in her posture, the refusal to be broken made, the cruelty all the more obscene. "That's better," Mitchell said with satisfaction. "See how much more civilized things are when everyone knows their place around them?" The newly arrived officers continued their systematic destruction. They overturned the gift table completely, grinding wrapped presents into the dirt. One officer dragged out Marcus's new bicycle, a surprise gift. James and Maya had saved for months to afford, and kicked it hard enough to bend the front wheel. Abandoned property, he declared, creating a public hazard. James watched from his kneeling position as his son's birthday dreams were annihilated piece by piece. The surveillance photos on his phone documented Mitchell taking drug money. The recorded conversations proved her racist conspiracy. 8 months of federal investigation could send her to prison for decades. But none of that mattered while she terrorized his family and community. "You know what I think?" Mitchell said, strolling back toward James, who still knelt in the dirt with his FBI badge ground into chocolate frosting beside him. "I think you're not showing proper remorse for your illegal activities." She gestured broadly at the devastation. "All this could have been avoided if you'd just followed the law. But you people always think the rules don't apply." Behind Maya and Marcus, Barnes positioned himself just close enough to intimidate, but not close enough to justify immediate complaint. "Kid's got some mouth on him," he said loudly. "Been talking back to authority all afternoon. Maybe some time away from bad influences would set him straight." The threat was unmistakable. Maya's grip on her son tightened instinctively, every maternal instinct screaming danger. "You stay away from my child," she said, her voice trembling but fierce. "Or what?" Cruz stepped closer. "You'll file a complaint? Call a lawyer?" He laughed softly. "Who do you think they're going to believe? Upstanding police officers or welfare criminals?" Mitchell pulled out her handcuffs again, letting them dangle in front of James's face as he knelt motionless. "I'm thinking obstruction of justice. Resisting arrest. Impersonating a federal officer." She glanced at Barnes. "That's enough for 5 years minimum, wouldn't you say?" "At least 5, Barnes replied eagerly. "Federal prison time for fake badge possession. They don't like cop impersonators in there." "Please," Maya begged, tears streaking her face. "Just let us clean up and go home. We'll never come back to this park. Please just leave us alone." "Too late for that," Mitchell said, with cruel satisfaction. "Your husband decided to challenge my authority. Now everyone gets to watch what happens to people who don't know their place." She grabbed James roughly by the arm, yanking him to his feet only to shove him back down harder. His knees slammed into the concrete, tearing the fabric of his jeans. Pain flared, sharp and immediate, but his face remained impassive. 8 years of marriage had taught Maya how to read her husband's micro-expressions, and what she saw now terrified her more than the officers ever could. James wasn't afraid. He was calculating, planning, preparing. "James," she whispered urgently, recognizing the dangerous stillness that always preceded action. "Don't think about Marcus. Think about the consequences." But Mitchell had decided humiliation wasn't enough. She reached down and grabbed Marcus by the arm, yanking the 8-year-old away from his mother despite his terrified cries. "Maybe some time in the system will teach this little criminal proper respect," Mitchell announced loudly. "Child Services loves cases like this. Neglectful parents, inappropriate environment, clear evidence of criminal influence." Marcus struggled desperately, tears streaming down his face as he looked toward his father. "Daddy," he cried. "Help me. Make her let go." The sound of his son's voice shattered the last barrier of restraint. Federal protocols, undercover operational security, 8 months of careful investigation. All of it evaporated in the face of a corrupt officer threatening his child. James rose from his kneeling position with fluid grace, his movements suddenly precise, controlled, and unmistakably trained. So different from moments before that, Barnes instinctively stepped backward. The mild-mannered community volunteer vanished in an instant. What stood in his place made the air itself feel heavier, dense, dangerous, charged with the promise of violence held on a leash by discipline alone. James straightened fully, his spine locking into a posture forged by years of federal training. His presence shifting so sharply that even the birds in the nearby trees seemed to still. "Take your hands off my son," he said quietly. He didn't shout, he didn't snarl. He commanded. The authority in his voice cut through the chaos like a blade. It was the voice of someone who had cleared rooms, issued final warnings, and watched people obey because their survival instincts demanded it. For the first time since she'd arrived, Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell hesitated. Just a fraction of a second, but it was there. Her cruel smile faltered, cracking at the edges, even as her fingers tightened reflexively around Marcus's small arm. The boy whimpered, his shoulders trembling. "What did you just say to me?" Mitchell snapped, trying to reclaim control. James didn't blink. I said. He repeated, his tone glacial. Take your hands off my son. Right now, the pavilion had gone deathly silent. Even the officers who moments earlier had laughed and destroyed party decorations shifted their weight uneasily. Something was wrong. Every cop in that park felt it in their bones. Mitchell scoffed, too loudly, too forced, or what? She sneered. You're going to assault a police officer in front of all these witnesses? James's hand moved toward his jacket. Barnes stiffened. Cruz's hand hovered near his holster. Muscles tensed. Training kicked in, but James didn't draw a weapon. He pulled out his phone. The calm precision of the movement unnerved them more than a gun ever could. No, James said, already dialing, eyes locked on Mitchell's face. I'm going to make a phone call. Mitchell barked out harsh laughter. Oh, this is Rich. Who you calling? Your lawyer? Your mommy? Some civil rights hotline that'll send you a pamphlet in 6 months? The call connected after one ring. James didn't raise his voice, but he didn't need to. This is Special Agent James Thompson, he said clearly, deliberately, every syllable echoing through the pavilion. Badge number 2847. I need immediate federal backup at Druid Hill Park, Baltimore. My cover has been compromised. My family is under active threat from corrupt Baltimore PD officers. The effect was nuclear. Mitchell's grip on Marcus loosened involuntarily. Her eyes flicked to Barnes, then to Cruz. Their faces had gone pale, confidence draining away like blood from an open wound. James continued, steady and merciless. Federal investigation into Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell's narcotics conspiracy has been ongoing for 8 months. I have documented evidence of civil rights violations, drug trafficking, evidence tampering, and systematic corruption, requesting immediate arrests and federal charges. Silence slammed down hard. Mitchell shook her head, backing half a step without realizing it. You're lying, she said, but the words lacked heat. That's fake. You're just some welfare rat playing dress-up. James ended the call. Slowly, deliberately, he bent down and retrieved his FBI credentials from the dirt where they debend ground into chocolate frosting. He wiped them clean against his sleeve and held them up. The gold shield caught the light, real, undeniable, federal. 8 months, James said conversationally. 8 months of watching you brutalize this community. 8 months of documenting every bribe, every planted baggie, every illegal stop. 8 months of waiting for you to cross the line far enough to bury your entire unit. A distant thrum rolled across the sky. Mitchell's face drained of color. Ain't that, James added calmly, will be my backup. The sound grew louder, word is cutting through the air. I suggest, James continued, voice ice cold, you release my son and step away from my family. Desperation flickered across Mitchell's face, and desperation made her reckless. Instead of letting go, she yanked Marcus closer, her hands sliding toward her service weapon. Nobody's going anywhere, she snarled, until I figure out what's really happening. The helicopters were nearly overhead now. James smiled. It wasn't warm. It wasn't kind. It was the smile of winter steel. Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell, he said, every word carrying lethal certainty. You are under arrest. The roar of FBI helicopters drowned out the children's crying, the adults' gasps, the officers' whispered panic. Wind whipped debris across the park balloons, streamers, torn wrapping paper swirling like evidence caught in a storm. Mitchell stared upward, her bravado collapsing into raw fear. You're lying, she whispered. This is a setup. James stepped forward, reclaiming every inch of space she'd stolen earlier. Gone was the man who'd knelt in the dirt. In his place stood a federal agent with 15 years of experience dismantling criminals exactly like her. Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell, he said calmly, badge number 4471. 23 years with Baltimore PD, Eastern District assignment. Resides at 2847 Oakwood Drive with your estranged wife, Patricia, and your daughter, Jessica, sophomore at Towson University. Mitchell's grip slackened. Shock registered in her eyes. How do you know that? 8 months of surveillance, James replied evenly, including recorded conversations where you referred to this community as animals that need controlling. Wiretaps, documenting your coordination with drug dealer Marcus Williams, financial records showing over $200,000 in unexplained income. Barnes swallowed hard. "Sir?" he said weakly. We didn't know. We were just following orders." James didn't look at him. "The same excuse you've used for 8 months," James said coldly. "The same excuse you used when you planted drugs on 16-year-old Kevin Johnson. The same excuse you used when you stole $40,000 from the Rodriguez family and called it asset forfeiture." The helicopters hovered directly overhead now. Black-clad FBI tactical agents fast roped down into the park with terrifying precision, boots hitting grass amid crushed birthday gifts and broken dreams. "FBI? Nobody move." Agent Sarah Carter, James's handler for the past 8 months, approached, weapon drawn but lowered. Her eyes swept the devastation, the crying children, the terrified community. Her gaze locked on James. He gave her a single nod. The operation was over, and the reckoning had just begun. "Agent Thompson." Agent Sarah Carter's voice cut cleanly through the chaos, formal, deliberate, unmistakable. By addressing him that way, she wasn't just speaking to James. She was establishing his authority for everyone present, the community, the FBI teams, and the broken remnants of Mitchell's unit. Status report. James didn't hesitate. "Lieutenant Mitchell and her unit have committed multiple federal crimes in front of approximately 30 civilian witnesses," he said evenly. The calm professionalism of a man delivering a case summary, not recounting a personal trauma. Civil rights violations, intimidation of a federal officer, destruction of private property, and direct threats against a minor. All actions are corroborated by body cams and at least a dozen civilian cell phone recordings. As if on cue, Mitchell's grip finally released. Marcus bolted. The 8-year-old sprinted across the torn grass and scattered balloons, colliding into Maya's arms so hard it nearly knocked her backward. She dropped to her knees, sobbing openly now, clutching her son as if the world might try to steal him again. FBI agents formed a tight perimeter around the family, protective, immovable. Mitchell watched it happen like someone waking from a nightmare she couldn't escape. Her face had gone from pale to gray. "This is impossible," she whispered hoarsely, eyes darting between the agents, the helicopters, and the phones pointed at her from every direction. You can't be FBI. You live here. You work construction. I've seen you at community meetings." James turned toward her slowly. "Special Agent James Thompson," he said, lifting his credentials again, holding them high so the gold seal caught the light in the cameras. "Federal Bureau of Investigation. Public Corruption Unit. Assigned to investigate systemic civil rights violations and drug-related corruption within the Baltimore Police Department." The words landed like a hammer. Agent Carter stepped in beside Mitchell, steel cuffs already open. "Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell," Carter announced clearly. "You are under arrest for violations of federal civil rights statutes, conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, extortion, obstruction of justice, and intimidation of a federal officer." "Wait," Mitchell cried, panic finally cracking her voice as she looked around at the families filming her downfall. "This is entrapment. He was pretending to be someone else." "That's illegal?" James didn't raise his voice. "Undercover operations are completely legal when investigating ongoing criminal conspiracies," he replied matter-of-factly. "Especially when those conspiracies involve systematic violations of constitutional rights." Officer Barnes tried to edge backward. He made it 2 steps before FBI agents closed in from all sides. "I want to cooperate," he blurted. "I was just following orders. I have names. Other officers. I can help." "Officer Richard Barnes," Agent Carter said coolly, producing another set of cuffs. "You are also under arrest for conspiracy and civil rights violations. You'll have ample opportunity to cooperate from federal custody." Cruz hadn't moved. He just stared at James. 8 months of smirks. 8 months of casual racism. 8 months of cruelty delivered with a badge and a grin. All of it aimed at a federal agent who had been recording everything. "The fake badge," Cruz said numbly. "The one I threw in the dirt?" James bent down, retrieved his credentials one last time, and wiped away the final smear of chocolate frosting. "Special Agent James Thompson," he said quietly. "Badge 2847. The same one you mocked while you destroyed a child's birthday party." The arrests moved. Quickly after that, Miranda rights echoed through the pavilion as agents secured Mitchell, Barnes, and the rest of the unit. Community members didn't stop recording, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. Proof, protection, memory. For years, no one had believed them. Now the cameras were on her. "You have the right to remain silent," Agent Carter recited as the cuffs clicked shut. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Mitchell twisted toward James, hatred flaring one last time. She spat onto the ground near his feet. "This isn't over," she snarled. "The system protects cops. There are dozens of us." James looked down at her, not with anger, but with something close to pity. "Lieutenant Mitchell," he said calmly, "this isn't one arrest. This is the beginning of the largest police corruption prosecution in Maryland history." He turned his phone toward her. Dozens of files filled the screen: photos, wiretap transcripts, bank records. 34 officers, he continued, are being arrested simultaneously across the city. Right now, your entire network is finished. Something inside Mitchell collapsed. As the agents led her away, the park fell silent. No cheers, no applause, just stunned, exhausted relief. Marcus tugged on James's hand, his small voice cutting through the aftermath. "Daddy, are you really a policeman?" James knelt, meeting his son's eyes. "I'm an FBI agent, buddy," he said gently, "and my job is to stop bad policemen from hurting good people." Overhead, news helicopters joined the FBI aircraft. The story was already escaping the park. Within 15 minutes, the first video hit social media. Mrs. Washington's granddaughter had been live streaming the party. Before the police arrived, her phone captured everything: the insults, the destruction, the threats, and the reversal. "Racist cop destroys kid's birthday, then gets arrested by FBI," views exploded. Maya sat in the back of an FBI vehicle with Marcus, staring at her phone as the numbers climbed. 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. The hashtag Know Your Place trended nationwide. Mitchell's words turned back on her with surgical cruelty. "James," Maya whispered, holding up the screen. "Someone made a compilation." Everything she said, it's everywhere. The edit was brutal in its precision, Mitchell sneering. The cake destroyed. James forced to his knees, Marcus screaming. Then the phone call, the badge, the helicopters. Mitchell's face draining of power. The comment section erupted. Justice had finally found a camera. And this time, it wasn't looking away. That face. The internet froze. It instantly Sarah Mitchell's expression, caught in the exact second reality, punched through her arrogance. Eyes wide, jaw slack, power evaporating. Memes exploded. That face when you realize you just arrested an FBI agent? LMAO? How are you going to call someone boy and get handcuffed by that same man? Know your place, Mitchell. Your place is prison. This is the most satisfying video on the entire internet. The way she threw. A real FBI badge in the dirt, time deceased. Hollywood make this into a movie ASAP. But celebration was only half the story. Within an hour, the counterattack arrived. New hashtags surged into the trending column like a coordinated ambush. Hashtag federal overreach. Hashtag entrapment. Accounts with identical talking points pushed carefully edited clips that began after the harassment, after the cake was destroyed, after James was forced to his knees. One viral tweet hit 50,000 retweets in under 40 minutes. Federal agents infiltrating local communities to entrap hardworking police officers. This is what happens when the deep state targets law enforcement patriots. The digital battlefield ignited. Then, more footage surfaced. Security camera from a corner liquor store showed Mitchell arriving, already sneering. A daycare across the street caught audio of her racial slurs echoing through the park. And then the knockout blow, a neighborhood barbershop. Its exterior camera had captured everything. Clear angle, clear audio, no edits, no cuts. Every insult. Every threat. Every laugh. The barbershop owner, a man who had cut hair in that neighborhood for 30 years, uploaded the footage with a single caption. "This is what we deal with every day. No hashtags, no commentary. The truth did the work." James watched the feeds update in real time as he finished his formal statement with Agent Carter. He analyzed the response the way he'd been trained to patterns. Momentum narratives forming, but underneath the professionalism was something heavier. His family's worst moment was becoming content. Their terror was being debated, memed, monetized, TikTok detonated. A Baltimore teenager posted a video titled, POV, "You called him boy, but he's actually FBI, 3 million views in 6 hours." Dance challenges followed, set to the audio of James calmly saying, "This is Special Agent James Thompson." Reaction videos multiplied faster than newsrooms could keep up. The story crossed from news into culture. 2 hours after the arrest, the Baltimore Police Department issued its statement. The officers involved were acting within established protocols for noise complaints and public safety concerns. The department will cooperate fully with any federal investigation while maintaining that our officers acted appropriately given the information available to them. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Community leaders who had been silent for years finally spoke, armed with receipts. "Mitchell's unit destroyed my nephew's graduation party last year, called it a gang gathering. He's valedictorian at Johns Hopkins now. Photos attached. Body cam footage attached. They took $3,000 from my mother's purse during a traffic stop. Said it was drug money. That was her rent. Receipts, bank statements." Police report. "Mitchell called my church's youth barbecue a criminal gathering. These kids were raising money for college scholarships." Thread 147. Photos, dates, names. Hashtag Baltimore corruption exploded. Then came the post that shifted everything. Mrs. Washington's granddaughter, the same young woman who had live-streamed the birthday party. 8 months this FBI agent lived in our community. 8 months he protected us without us knowing. 8 months he ate at our tables and played with our kids while building a case for justice. That's a hero. Her original live stream passed 4 million views. But the most devastating blow came from inside the house. Anonymous leaks. Internal BPD documents flooded the internet. Screenshots, PDFs, audio files. Mitchell's personnel files surfaced. 17 prior complaints. Excessive force. Racial profiling. Evidence tampering. Every single one dismissed. Buried, unsubstantiated. Then audio. Mitchell during shift briefings. Voice casual. Unguarded. These community events are breeding grounds for future criminals. Financial records followed. An $80,000 boat. A vacation home in Ocean City. Designer handbags worth more than most families' monthly rent. All on a lieutenant's salary. All while terrorizing families who had to save for months to afford a child's birthday cake. Someone created a split-screen image. Left, Mitchell smiling on her boat, champagne in hand. Right, Marcus's smashed cake in the dirt. It became one of the most shared images of the year. 6 hours after the arrest, the Baltimore Police Union called an emergency press conference. Union President Robert Hayes, a 30-year veteran with his own controversial history, stepped up to the podium, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool night air. These officers were doing their jobs, Hayes declared. They responded to a legitimate noise complaint and followed standard protocols. The fact that one individual happened to be a federal agent does not invalidate their actions. A reporter shouted from the crowd. What about the racial slurs? What about destroying a child's birthday cake and calling community members welfare rats? I haven't seen any verified evidence of inappropriate language, Hayes replied stiffly. Behind him, protesters held tablets and phones aloft. Mitchell's voice blared through the speakers. You people don't belong here. Welfare rats. Know your place. The press conference cracked. Then Kesha Washington stood, Mrs. Washington's granddaughter. She held up her phone, connected to a portable speaker. I have a question, she said clearly. Would you like to watch the video of your officers calling an 8-year-old boy's birthday party a ghetto circus? Is it making his federal agent father kneel in the dirt like a criminal? Hayes opened his mouth. Too late. Kesha hit play. Mitchell's voice filled the night. And for the first time, there was nowhere left for it to hide. Mitchell's voice blasted through the Union conference hall, sharp and unmistakable. Shut down this ghetto circus before these animals breed more criminals. The room froze. Union President Robert Hayes felt the blood drain from his face in real time as the words echoed off the walls. Every news camera zoomed in, capturing the precise second his confidence collapsed into panic. Behind him, protesters raised their phones higher, dozens of glowing screens forming a living backdrop. Peach, one replaying the same footage he had just claimed, did not exist. A wall of evidence, a wall of truth. I'll have to review all available footage before making any further statements, Hayes stammered, his voice cracking. A reporter from the front row didn't let him breathe. You just said there was no evidence? Are you changing your position now? That we VAR watched a federal agent forced to his knees at his son's birthday party? Hayes opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The internet devoured the moment instantly. Hashtag police union lies began trending within minutes. Clips of Hayes denying evidence, while that same evidence played behind him spread like wildfire. Someone turned his expression into a looping GIF. Confidence, confusion, fear, collapse. By nightfall, calls for his resignation joined the growing digital roar, demanding accountability. Then the FBI spoke. Their statement dropped like a controlled detonation. Special Agent James Thompson. S8-month undercover investigation has resulted in federal charges against 34 Baltimore Police Department officers for civil rights violations, drug trafficking, conspiracy, extortion, and systematic corruption. This represents one of the largest police corruption prosecutions in Maryland history. 34. 8 months. Systematic. The birthday party wasn't an anomaly. It was a preview. Traditional media scrambled. Social media exploded. The scope alone sent shockwaves through every newsroom in the country. This wasn't about one racist lieutenant losing control. It was about a rotten structure finally exposed. International outlets seized the story. BBC News ran the headline. American police corruption, exposed at child's birthday party. Deutsche Welle framed it as proof of institutional racism embedded in U.S. law enforcement. The image of a black father and FBI agent kneeling in the dirt while corrupt officers mocked his credentials became a global symbol of systemic failure. By evening, protesters filled the streets outside Baltimore police headquarters. Elders who had endured decades of harassment stood shoulder to shoulder with young activists live streaming every chant. Signs rose above the crowd. Know your place, prison FBI agent Daddy Justice for Marcus across the street. A smaller group waved hashtag back the blue banners, shouting about federal overreach. The divide was generational, ideological, emotional, and raw. Older community members wept openly as footage replayed of Mitchell being led away in handcuffs. Younger voices turned rage into rhythm, remixing her words into protest chants and viral edits. The children from the birthday party became unlikely symbols themselves. One little girl told a reporter, "Our neighbor is a secret agent." Another held up a crayon drawing of FBI helicopters hovering over a cake. By prime time, the story dominated cable news. Split screens showed Mitchell's arrest on one side, expert panels on the other. This case goes far beyond Baltimore, CNN's legal analyst declared. It demonstrates how federal law enforcement can successfully infiltrate and dismantle systematic police corruption. This could become a national model. Fox News framed it differently. Federal agents living undercover in American communities, secretly recording and deceiving citizens, the anchor warned. Is this the surveillance state Americans want? The political war raged. Liberals shared compilations of Mitchell's slurs, celebrating her downfall. Conservatives pushed clips focused on James's concealed identity, painting him as deceptive, dangerous. Lost beneath the noise was the human truth. An 8-year-old boy whose birthday had been destroyed. A father who spent 8 months protecting a community, while knowing the truth would eventually shatter their sense of normal. Maya watched it all unfold from an FBI safe house, where the family had been relocated for protection. "Look at this," she said softly, handing James her phone. "They're calling you the birthday party FBI agent?" A meme filled the screen. James holding his badge. FBI helicopters overhead, birthday cake beneath him. The caption read, "Special Agent James Thompson, badge 2847. It had been shared over 2 million times, translated into dozens of languages. "I never wanted to be famous," James said quietly, watching Marcus laugh as 2 FBI agents showed him how helicopters worked on a tablet. "I just wanted to catch the bad guys and go home." Maya scrolled through hundreds of messages, thank you notes, apologies, stories of pain finally being believed. Well, she said gently, looks like you gave people something more than justice. You gave them hope. 3 days later, Special Agent Sarah Carter stood in front of the largest evidence board of her career. The Baltimore FBI field office conference room looked like controlled chaos for massive whiteboards filled with photos, bank records, transcripts, surveillance stills, all connected by red string. 8 months of undercover work, an entire corrupt power structure mapped out in ink and evidence. Sarah Carter took a slow breath, looking at the scope of what James Thompson had uncovered. This, she said quietly to the room, is how systems fall, and Baltimore would never be the same again. 34 officers. Agent Sarah Carter's voice cut cleanly through the secured Deutsche briefing room as federal prosecutors, civil rights attorneys, and senior Justice Department officials leaned forward in their seats. Many had flown in from Washington overnight. All of them understood this wasn't a routine corruption case. 34 sworn law enforcement officers, Carter continued, participating in what can only be described as an organized criminal enterprise operating under the color of law. She clicked the remote. Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell's photograph filled the screen, her official portrait beside a sprawling financial chart. Numbers cascaded downward in neat columns, each one more damning than the last. Mitchell alone received over $200,000 in narcotics proceeds across a 3-year period, Carter said. A low murmur rippled through the room, but she was not the top of the pyramid. She was middle management in a corruption network that extends to the deputy chief level, Agent Luis Rodriguez. James Thompson's technical support specialist stepped forward and activated the audio system. We have 8 months of recorded conversations, Rodriguez said calmly. Thanks to Agent Thompson's willingness to wear a wire to community meetings, barbecues, church services, PTA gatherings, and e-ware, these officers believed they were untouchable. The first audio clip played. Despite background music and laughter from a crowded block party, Mitchell's voice came through with chilling clarity. These animals need to be reminded who runs this city. Every gathering is a potential riot waiting to happen. Better to shut them down before they start organizing. Several attorneys visibly stiffened. That recording, Carter explained, was captured at a community cookout celebrating a teenager's acceptance to Morgan State University. Agent Thompson attended as a supportive neighbor, while documenting deliberate plans to disrupt lawful positive community events. U.S. Attorney Patricia Williams leaned forward. What's the scope? Rodriguez checked his tablet. 47 documented incidents over 8 months. Birthday parties, graduation celebrations, church fundraisers, youth sports tournaments. The pattern is clear: target gatherings that build social cohesion. Another clip played. This one was worse. Deputy Chief Robert Morrison's voice filled the room, recorded during a private meeting with Mitchell at a downtown restaurant. Federal heat's getting stronger. Civil rights groups are filing too many complaints. We need to be smarter, make everything look justified on paper. Mitchell's reply followed without hesitation. If they resist, we disappear them into the system. Arrests, court dates, legal fees they can't afford. Make examples. Fear works better than bullets. Silence fell like a weight. This wasn't rogue behavior. This was policy. FBI financial crimes specialist Amanda Foster took over, projecting bank records that mapped the corruption in ruthless detail. The drug money didn't stop with individual officers, she said. A percentage was laundered through police union-linked accounts and funneled into political campaigns. Justice Department Civil Rights Attorney Michael Chang frowned. Judges, at least 6, Foster replied. Campaign contributions directly tied to narcotics proceeds. Prosecutors too. 8. They were buying the system. Carter advanced to surveillance photographs. Images filled the screen. Mitchell and other officers meeting known drug traffickers in parking lots, warehouses, upscale restaurants. Envelopes exchanged. Territory maps spread across car hoods. Smiles, handshakes, active partners, Rodriguez said. Not bribed, integrated. One image froze the room. Mitchell shaking hands with Marcus Williams, a major heroin distributor, outside a warehouse used as a distribution hub. The Williams organization paid $15,000 monthly, Rodriguez explained, in exchange for advance warning on raids, elimination of competitors, and protection during major shipments. We have recorded conversations confirming this arrangement going back 3 years. Then came the most chilling evidence: internal police communications. They maintain target lists, Carter said quietly. Community organizers, church leaders, parents, Anyone capable of mobilizing resistance. A document appeared on screen. Names, addresses, notes. One name was highlighted in red, James Thompson. 6 months before the birthday party, Carter continued, Agent Thompson was flagged internally with a red marker indicating suspected federal interest. Gasps echoed through the room. He was operating under partially blown cover for months without knowing it, Carter said. They escalated harassment to test him. The birthday party was not spontaneous. She paused, letting the truth settle. It was a trap, a forced choice scenario. Reveal himself or watch his family break. U.S. Attorney Williams exhaled slowly. Says Rico, yes, Carter replied. An ongoing criminal enterprise using police authority to facilitate drug trafficking, suppress communities, and corrupt the justice system from the inside. She clicked to the final slide. A single image. James Thompson kneeling in the dirt beside a destroyed birthday cake. This, Carter said, her voice steady but edged with steel, was the moment they overplayed their hand. No one spoke. They didn't need to. The case before them wasn't just about 34 officers. It was about dismantling a machine that had operated unchecked for decades, and the undercover agent who had walked into it with nothing but a wire, badge, and the willingness to kneel in the dirt to expose the truth. Carter didn't hesitate. Her voice was steady, sharpened by months of buried rage and restraint. Yes, she confirmed. We're moving forward with federal RICO charges alongside civil rights violations. This isn't administrative discipline. This is organized crime. The top conspirators are facing 20 to 30 years in federal prison. A low murmur rippled through the room, but the shock wasn't over. FBI financial analyst Amanda Foster advanced the next slide, her expression grim. What's worse, she said, is that Baltimore wasn't an isolated case. The map behind her lit up Baltimore at the center, then lines branching outward like veins. Our financial modeling shows identical patterns in 3 other Maryland jurisdictions. Same laundering methods, same language and communications, same playbook. They franchised corruption, Foster continued coldly. They trained other departments how to partner with drug networks while hiding behind policy language. They called it community management techniques. 40 names appeared on the screen. At least 40 additional officers in surrounding counties received direct training. That was when Agent James Thompson entered the room. For the first time since his cover had been blown, he looked hollow, eyes red, shoulders heavy, the weight of 8 months of double life etched into his face. He stood silently for a moment, as if steadying himself against memories no one else in the room could fully understand. When this went public, Thompson said quietly, some people refused to believe it. He swallowed. They said I was just a construction worker being framed. I couldn't possibly be federal. A pause. My son asks why I lied to him about my job. My neighbors feel betrayed. People who trusted me with their fears about police harassment now wonder if I was collecting evidence against them. The room was silent. But they also understand why it had to be done. Carter stepped in gently. Community leaders have been calling us, she said. Not to complain, but to thank him. For 8 months of real protection while this case was built, Thompson pulled out his phone. His hand trembled slightly as he pressed play. An elderly woman's voice filled the room, weathered, steady, unbreakable. James, this is Mrs. Washington. Every Sunday you sat in our church, every time you fixed my porch steps, every talk we had about keeping our children safe that was real, the job was pretend. But the man was real, and that man is a hero to this community. Several attorneys turned away, clearing their throats. One wiped his eyes. Abstract discussions about undercover risks suddenly had a face, a voice, a cost. Rodriguez resumed the briefing. The evidence package includes 2,000 plus hours of audio, 15,000 photographs, complete financial records for all 34 officers, sworn testimony from 47 community members. But most importantly, Carter added, stepping forward, we have real-time documentation of civil rights violations, pattern and practice, not excuses, not one-offs. There are 8 months of proof. She played another audio clip. Mitchell's voice, clear, unguarded, vicious. These people breed like rabbits and expect taxpayers to fund their celebrations. Shut down gatherings before they organize. Keep them scared, keep them separated. Keep them focused on survival instead of resistance. Michael Chang exhaled sharply. That's textbook civil rights conspiracy, he said. Explicit suppression of First Amendment activity. Foster clicked again. Bank records flooded the screens. Over $8 million in drug-related income over 5 years, she said, laundered through union accounts, PACs, shell businesses, and properties owned by officers' family members. This wasn't bribery. She looked up. This was a criminal enterprise wearing police badges. Then came the damage report. Carter let the numbers speak like a verdict. 47 community events disrupted, 138 false arrests of organizers. $300,000 plus in legal fees forced onto families. Years of fear, fragmentation, silence. This was ethnic cleansing disguised as law enforcement, she said quietly. Thompson spoke again, barely above a whisper. They did this because they thought they were untouchable. And they were, Carter replied. Internal Affairs dismissed 93% of complaints. The union shielded criminals. Prosecutors rubber-stamped police testimony even when evidence contradicted it. U.S. Attorney Patricia Williams stood. This, she said firmly, is why federal civil rights enforcement exists. When local systems rot beyond repair, we step in. She gestured at the walls covered in proof. We are not prosecuting mistakes. We are dismantling an organization that used government power to terrorize citizens while enriching itself through drug trafficking. She paused. The birthday party that went viral, that was just one day. Her eyes locked with Thompson's. But it was the day they targeted the wrong man. As the briefing ended, agents began moving phones out, warrants printing, teams mobilizing. The first 3 arrests at the park had only cracked the surface. Over the next 48 hours, federal agents would move simultaneously. 31 more arrests. One system exposed, and an illusion of untouchability finally destroyed. Over the next 48 hours, federal agents executed a coordinated operation, simultaneously arresting 31 additional Baltimore Police Department members, the largest corruption sweep in Maryland history. Thompson gathered his meticulously cataloged evidence files, knowing the next phase would transform 8 months of undercover work into years of prosecutorial proceedings. Every officer who had terrorized innocent families would face federal justice. Agent Thompson, U.S. Attorney Williams called as he prepared to leave the briefing room. Your sacrifice, and your family's sacrifice, will restore constitutional rights and save lives. Thompson glanced back at the evidence boards. Walls covered with proof of systematic corruption, photographs, audio transcripts, financial statements, and community event logs. Ma'am, he said grimly, that birthday party was supposed to be the end of my investigation. Turns out it was just the beginning of justice. 6 weeks later, the grand jury room in the Baltimore Federal Courthouse buzzed with tension. Witnesses lined up to testify against officers who had systematically terrorized their communities for years. But the most powerful testimony came from an unexpected source: Officer Luis Rodriguez. A 15-year Baltimore police veteran, Rodriguez's hand shook as he opened a manila folder containing 2 years of secretly collected evidence. His career was finished, his pension gone, and he and his family had received death threats from fellow officers, but his conscience could no longer bear complicity. Couldn't watch what happened to that family, Rodriguez whispered. That little boy crying over his birthday cake while Mitchell laughed. That federal agent forced to kneel in the dirt while she called him boy. I have kids the same age. U.S. Attorney Williams activated the recording equipment. Rodriguez pulled out a digital recorder he'd used for 24 months to document conversations. I started recording after Mitchell's unit beat my nephew during a traffic stop, he explained. Miguel works at a hospital as a respiratory therapist, saving lives every day, and they pulled him over for driving while black in his own neighborhood. The first audio file played. Mitchell's voice, commanding and detached, filled the room. We need to break their spirit before they organize. Every birthday party, every graduation, every church event. These are opportunities to remind them who has real power. Fear keeps them compliant. Deputy Chief Morrison's voice followed. Make it look random. Individual officers responding to legitimate complaints. No pattern civil rights lawyers can use, but systematic enough that they never feel safe. Williams paused the recording, studying Rodriguez.
How long had they used these tactics, she asked. At least 8 years I can document, he replied. But older officers say it goes back to the early 2000s, maybe longer.
Rodriguez continued, detailing the sophisticated harassment playbook. Mitchell's unit studied social media to anticipate gatherings, filed anonymous noise complaints to justify police responses, and coordinated with sympathetic dispatch operators for rapid deployment. Community management, they called it. Any event that might build solidarity or political power was a target, Rodriguez explained. Birthday parties, block parties, church fundraisers, anything positive. One particularly damning recording captured Mitchell training newer officers. Arrests create paperwork and legal challenges. The goal is humiliation, make them feel powerless in front of their families. Make children lose respect for their parents. Break down social structures that might challenge our authority. Williams leaned forward, stunned. Systematic destruction of community cohesion. As official policy, it's unofficial but systematic, Rodriguez corrected. Nothing written down, but everyone in the unit knew the real mission. We weren't protecting or serving, we were occupying and controlling. Financial evidence corroborated the harassment. Rodriguez documented deposit slips, conversations about money distribution, and filmed meetings with drug dealers. Corruption proceeds were distributed to ensure officer loyalty while maintaining plausible deniability. Mitchell wasn't the top, Rodriguez explained. She reported to Deputy Chief Morrison, but even he answered to someone higher. I heard calls mentioning the commissioner's office and political protection, but I couldn't get close enough to record those. The scope of community damage was staggering. Rodriguez had compiled over 200 disrupted events in 5 years: birthday parties, graduations, church fundraisers, youth sports leagues, all systematically targeted. They even kept score. Rodriguez showed a notebook where Mitchell logged disrupted events like a sales manager tracking quarterly revenue. Her personal record? 37 disrupted events in a single month. She was proud of it. But the most devastating evidence involved targeted harassment of specific community leaders. Mitchell and Morrison discussed individuals posing political threats, planning systematic intimidation to destroy credibility and effectiveness. Every elementario, photos, financial records, personal testimony painted a single picture: a deeply entrenched criminal enterprise operating under the guise of law enforcement, deliberately terrorizing communities while enriching themselves and maintaining institutional cover. Rodriguez explained the full extent of targeted community surveillance: ministers, school board members, activists, anyone who might organize resistance. The goal was dual: co-opt them through threats or destroy them through false arrests and financial pressure. Agent Thompson had been flagged 6 months before the birthday party incident. His obvious intelligence, visible community involvement, and refusal to be intimidated marked him as a special threat. The department suspected he might be federal law enforcement D or ATF, but never imagined he was documenting civil rights violations. The birthday party had been a deliberate test. Mitchell's unit received orders to escalate harassment until Thompson either revealed himself or demonstrated he could be broken like other community members. The plan, Rodriguez confirmed, was to arrest him in front of his son, humiliate him, and then attempt to flip him into betraying the very community he had been protecting. U.S. Attorney Williams reviewed Rodriguez's evidence with growing appreciation. Audio recordings, financial documents, internal communications, witness statements, and photographs formed a prosecutor's dream case. Officer Rodriguez, why now? Why risk everything? Williams asked. Rodriguez's eyes filled with tears. Because I watched Agent Thompson take all that abuse to protect his investigation. He let them humiliate him while secretly gathering evidence to save the same people they were terrorizing. If he could sacrifice 8 months of his life for justice, I could sacrifice my career. Community response to Rodriguez's cooperation was mixed. Some residents viewed him as complicit for too long, while others understood the necessity of his testimony for convictions and preventing future corruption. The community needs to heal, Rodriguez said, but healing requires truth. Complete truth about how systematic this was, how high it reached, how long it lasted. This wasn't just bad cops. This was institutional policy. The following week, Williams presented Rodriguez's evidence to the federal grand jury. 23 Maryland citizens listened to hours of recorded conversations, thousands of documents and testimony from 47 community members. The grand jury acted decisively. 97 federal felony indictments were issued against 34 officers, 3 judges, 2 prosecutors, and 5 civilians involved in money laundering. Charges included civil rights violations, racketeering, drug trafficking, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Rodriguez's evidence also provided a roadmap to prevent future corruption. Every systematic harassment tactic, the institutional protection enabling it, and the political connections sustaining it were documented in detail. Even Marcus Thompson, now 9 years old, requested to testify. Federal prosecutors initially hesitated, concerned about trauma, but his parents supported him. Marcus stood before the grand jury and said, "The bad policeman made my daddy kneel in the dirt on my birthday. But my daddy was really a good policeman all along, and he was protecting everyone. The bad policeman didn't know that good always wins." His simple testimony had a profound impact, crystallizing the stakes for the jurors. Community leaders organized prayer vigils outside the courthouse, including Mrs. Washington, now recovering from hip surgery, tending daily in her wheelchair with a sign reading, "Justice for all, God as children." She praised Thompson's dedication. "He lived in our community for 8 months. He ate at our tables, played with our children, and listened to our fears. He could have arrested those officers on day 1, but he stayed to build a case strong enough to change everything." That's love in action. The federal evidence package ultimately filled 47 file boxes, comprising audio recordings, surveillance photos, financial records, internal police communications, and witness statements, providing an irrefutable picture of systematic corruption designed to terrorize communities while enriching officials. Deputy Chief Morrison resigned the day before his scheduled grand jury appearance, citing health concerns, saying nothing about the federal charges or the communities he terrorized. Mitchell remained defiant, with her attorney filing motions, claiming selective prosecution and federal overreach. Federal judges dismissed the motions immediately, finding civil rights violations too systematic and obvious to defend. Rodriguez's cooperation opened the floodgates. Other officers came forward in exchange for reduced sentences. Civilian witnesses, previously too intimidated, found courage in numbers. For the first time, the truth emerged fully, revealing corruption that had poisoned law enforcement in Baltimore for nearly a decade. What began with a destroyed birthday party had uncovered a deep, systematic criminal network. Justice was no longer just a hope, it was inevitable. The federal courthouse in Baltimore had never seen crowds like this. 3 months after the viral birthday party arrest, the plaza outside overflowed with community members, clergy, activists, and families holding handmade signs demanding justice for years of systematic abuse. Television trucks lined the streets, satellite dishes pointed skyward, broadcasting a moment many believed they would never live to see. Inside the packed courtroom, U.S. Attorney Patricia Williams stood beneath the seal of the United States, flanked by federal marshals and rows of evidence binders. Cameras clicked as she began. "Today marks a reckoning. 97 federal felony convictions. 34 police officers, 3 judges, 2 prosecutors, and 5 civilian conspirators have pleaded guilty or been found guilty of crimes ranging from civil rights violations to racketeering conspiracy. This concludes the largest police corruption prosecution in Maryland history." A low murmur rippled through the gallery, relief, disbelief, and grief all tangled together. At the defendant's table sat Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell, no longer draped in authority. Her uniform had been replaced by an orange prison jumpsuit, her badge traded for shackles. The swagger that once terrified entire neighborhoods was gone, replaced by a rigid, bitter stillness. Her attorney had urged her to show remorse. She showed none. Judge Catherine Martinez, appointed from outside the state due to the depth of local judicial corruption, reviewed the sentencing documents with deliberate care. At 62, she had presided over countless misconduct cases, but this one had shaken even her seasoned perspective. "Lieutenant Mitchell," Judge Martinez began, her voice firm and unyielding. "You have been convicted of conspiracy to violate civil rights, racketeering, drug trafficking conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. Before I pronounce sentence, I want you to understand exactly what you have done to this community." She gestured toward the packed gallery. Families filled every bench. Elders sat beside children. In the front row, Marcus Thompson, now 9 years old, sat between his parents in a neatly pressed suit, clutching a crayon drawing of FBI helicopters hovering over a birthday cake. You terrorized a federal agent and traumatized his 8-year-old son on what should have been one of the happiest days of his life. The judge continued. But that was only one day in a campaign of oppression that lasted years. When invited to speak, James Thompson stood. Months of undercover work, testimony, and depositions had etched fatigue into his face, but his voice did not waver. "Lieutenant Mitchell," he said calmly, "you called my son's birthday party a ghetto circus. You forced me to my knees in front of my child and called me boy. You threw my federal credentials in the dirt and laughed." He paused, letting the words settle. "But the worst part wasn't what you did to my family. The worst part was realizing you'd been doing this to innocent families for years, families with no badge to protect them, families who couldn't fight back." Mitchell's hands trembled slightly, though her expression remained hard. "You asked me what kind of man I was," James continued. "I'm the kind of man who lived 8 months in a community, built real relationships, protected people I grew to love, and accepted humiliation so justice could reach those without power." Turning to the bench, he added, "Your Honor, she represents everything that goes wrong when policing becomes domination instead of service." Next, Mrs. Washington, 74, and leaning on a walker, struggled to her feet. Silence fell. "That woman destroyed my grandson's graduation party," she said, her voice steady with lived pain. "She called his acceptance to medical school a gang gathering, made him lie face down in front of his little sister while she searched him for weapons that didn't exist." She pointed at Mitchell. "You tried to break us, but we're still here. Our children are still succeeding. Your reign of terror is over." For 2 hours, victim after victim spoke, parents whose children's birthdays were ruined, pastors whose fundraisers were shut down, teenagers falsely arrested, shop owners extorted. Each testimony revealed another deliberate attempt to crush joy, unity, and dignity. Maya Thompson described the private toll. "I watched my husband pretend to be powerless while documenting injustice. I watched my son learn fear before he should have known it. No family should pay that price for doing the right thing." Then Marcus stood. The courtroom held its breath. "A bad policewoman ruined my birthday," he said softly. "She made my daddy kneel down and called him bad names. She scared me and my friends." He looked straight at Mitchell. "But my daddy was a hero the whole time. He was pretending so he could catch the bad police and keep everyone safe. I'm proud of my daddy." There was no dry eye in the room. Mitchell's attorney rose for a final plea, arguing she was a product of department culture, following orders in a broken system. Judge Martinez did not hesitate. "Culture does not excuse cruelty," she said coldly. "Orders do not absolve conscience." She straightened, her gavel poised. "For the damage you inflicted, for the fear you spread, and for the trust you shattered, this court sentences you to 32 years in federal prison, followed by supervised release. You will never again hold authority over another citizen," as the gavel struck. The courtroom erupted, some in tears, some in prayer, some in quiet, exhausted relief. Outside, the crowd heard the news and embraced strangers. What began with a child's ruined birthday ended with accountability echoing through history. Justice, long denied, had finally arrived. The courtroom was tense, every eye fixed on Judge Catherine Martinez as she rose to deliver the final judgment in the case that had gripped Baltimore and the nation. Miss Mitchell's crimes were not momentary lapses in judgment, or responses to impossible situations, she declared, her voice echoing through the packed federal courthouse. They were systematic violations of constitutional rights, planned and executed over years, carried out with obvious pleasure in the suffering they caused. She meticulously reviewed the evidence. Audio recordings showing Mitchell taking personal satisfaction in humiliating families, financial records revealing extensive profit from drug-related corruption, witness testimony documenting her deliberate targeting of community events to destroy cohesion. The room held its collective breath as the judge prepared the sentence. "Sarah Mitchell, you are hereby sentenced to 25 years in federal prison without possibility of parole. You are permanently barred from any law enforcement position and required to pay $200,000 in restitution to community victims." Gasps and quiet sobs filled the courtroom. Mitchell's face finally showed emotion rage, not remorse. Her attorney quickly moved for appeal, but the weight of the evidence left no room for mitigation. Other sentences followed. Officer Barnes, 18 years. Detective Cruz, 15 years. Deputy Chief Morrison, 12 years. Cooperation reduced his sentence. Every member of Mitchell's unit faced significant federal prison time. Judge Martinez then addressed systemic reform. Comprehensive federal oversight will be implemented for the entire Baltimore Police Department, including civilian oversight boards with real authority and federal monitors with access to all communications. This consent decree will remain in effect for at least 10 years, ensuring constitutional violations like those in this case never recur. Outside, the community organized a massive celebration. Marcus Thompson, now 9, cut the ribbon at a temporary podium, symbolically reclaiming the birthday party that had been destroyed. Families cheered. Mrs. Washington announced, "Today is Marcus's real birthday party." The menu mirrored the original: potato salad, fried chicken, Spider-Man cake. Children played safely while reformed officers provided security. James Thompson was sworn in as FBI Assistant Director for Community Relations during the celebration, a living symbol of federal commitment to trust rebuilding. In his speech, he emphasized healing and prevention over punishment. They believed their badges gave them permission to terrorize families. Today proves no one is above the law, and constitutional rights will be protected when local systems fail. Maya Thompson launched the Marcus Thompson Community Justice Foundation, funded in part by restitution from convicted officers. The foundation would provide legal support for families facing police harassment and strengthen community organizing in historically targeted neighborhoods. Marcus addressed the crowd with remarkable poise. The bad police thought they could scare us, but good always wins when people are brave enough to do what's right. My daddy was brave. Mrs. Washington was brave. Mr. Rodriguez was brave. Now kids can have birthday parties without bad police ruining them. Media coverage was extensive and positive. Cable panels debated federal oversight. Social media campaigns celebrated accountability. And international outlets highlighted the case as proof that American institutions could deliver justice. A year later, Druid Hill Park hosted its first annual Justice Day, celebrating exactly the type of community gathering Mitchell's unit had spent years trying to destroy. Mitchell began serving her 25-year sentence at a federal prison in West Virginia. She maintained her innocence, blaming federal overreach, and would not be eligible for release until 2049 at age 67. The systematic corruption that had poisoned Baltimore policing for nearly a decade was dismantled. Families could gather safely, children could play in parks without fear, and communities could trust law enforcement again. The destroyed birthday party had become a symbol of resistance, resilience, and the triumph of constitutional rights over institutional oppression. Justice had been served comprehensively and publicly, and the long work of rebuilding trust had officially begun. 2 years had passed since Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell was led away in federal handcuffs. Yet Druid Hill Park buzzed once more with the joyful energy of Marcus Thompson. An 8th birthday, but now the scene reflected triumph rather than trauma. A bronze plaque on the pavilion proudly read Thompson Community Justice Park, and police officers smiled genuinely as they assisted children with face painting, balloon animals, and games. The atmosphere was one of celebration, safety, and restored trust. Marcus Thompson, now 10 3 inches taller, stood confidently at a podium, addressing the gathered crowd for the second annual Justice Day celebration. His voice carried the authority of lived experience and civic responsibility 2 years ago. Bad police came to my birthday party and tried to scare my family. They didn't know my daddy was really an FBI agent working to protect everyone. They thought they could be mean to people and never get in trouble. But good people fought back, and now kids can have birthday parties without being afraid. Now police officers help with celebrations instead of ruining them. My daddy says that's what justice looks like when everyone works together. The crowd erupted in applause as Marcus cut the ribbon on the newly inaugurated Marcus Thompson Community Justice Center, a hub designed to support Baltimore residents with legal assistance for families facing police harassment, police accountability, training conflict resolution services. Funding came from federal grants, restitution payments from convicted officers, and community fundraising, reflecting a shared commitment to long-term positive change. James Thompson, now FBI Assistant Director for Community Relations, watched his son with immense pride. Marcus had bravely testified against Mitchell at a young age, endured national media scrutiny, and emerged as a symbol of childhood resilience and civic courage. James addressed the crowd 2 years ago. "My family experienced the worst of what policing can become when officers forget they serve the community. Today, we re-celebrating the best of what law enforcement can be when accountability and community partnership guide our actions." The Baltimore Police Department, under federal oversight, had transformed mandatory body cameras that could not be disabled civilian oversight boards with real authority. Community policing initiatives requiring officers to attend neighborhood events. Transparent complaint processes. Officer Jennifer Martinez, a rookie and Baltimore native, engaged comfortably with attendees. She explained to teenagers interested in law enforcement. The old department saw community gatherings as threats to be controlled. The new department sees them as opportunities to build relationships and earn trust. "We're not occupying these neighborhoods anymore, we're part of them." Maya Thompson channeled her experience as a victim of police harassment into full-time advocacy. The Marcus Thompson Community Justice Foundation had already assisted over 200 families with legal navigation, filing complaints, and accessing rights protection resources. She emphasized that healing requires ongoing support, not just arrests. The Foundation's most successful programs paired families with reformed officers committed to rebuilding trust through consistent engagement. Officer Luis Rodriguez, the whistleblower instrumental in Mitchell's conviction, now dedicated off-duty hours to coaching youth basketball and addressing community concerns. He told parents, "I spent 15 years being part of the problem. Now I'm spending whatever time I have left being part of the solution." It doesn't erase what happened, but it honors the courage of families like the Thompsons who fought for justice. Mrs. Washington, 76, but still vibrant, had become a grandmother figure to children affected by corrupt policing. She guided homework sessions and shared civil rights history, connecting past struggles to present victories. This little celebration reminds me of the freedom schools we ran in Mississippi during the 1960s. Back then, we were fighting for the right to vote and attend integrated schools. Today, we're still fighting, but now we can see real, tangible progress in our own neighborhoods. The park, the community center, and the ongoing Justice Day celebrations had become living symbols of resilience, civic empowerment, and the transformation of policing through accountability and community partnership. The trauma of the destroyed birthday party had evolved into a legacy of hope, trust, and systemic reform proof that determined families, courageous whistleblowers, and accountable law enforcement could reshape an entire city. 2 years after the chaos of Marcus Thompson's destroyed birthday party, Druid Hill Park had become a vibrant hub of community celebration, accountability, and hope. Children and families wandered among displays commemorating the events that had sparked systemic change. One exhibit featured photographs from Marcus's original birthday party, documentation from the federal investigation, and artwork created by neighborhood children envisioning positive relationships with law enforcement. Drawings ranged from FBI helicopters delivering birthday cake to children, to images of police officers holding hands with families around picnic tables, visualizing a future built on trust, safety, and collaboration. Federal oversight of the Baltimore Police Department had become a national model. Justice Department. Officials now regularly brought delegations from other cities to observe community policing initiatives that had grown from the SEL accountability imposed after Mitchell's conviction. Michael Chang, Civil Rights Division attorney, explained to visiting law enforcement officials from 6 cities. Baltimore proves that comprehensive reform is possible when federal authorities have the will to enforce constitutional rights. Yet sustainable change required community engagement, not just mandates. Statistics reflected tangible transformation. Complaints against police officers dropped by 68%. Community trust in law enforcement increased from 23% to 57%. Positive police interactions, officers helping with events, mediating disputes, and providing assistance increased over 300%. Marcus, 10 years old, had gained recognition among classmates, but maintained a grounded, normal childhood. He played soccer, did homework, and complained about chores like any other child. Speaking quietly to his father during the celebration, "Sometimes kids call me the FBI boy. I think it's cool that you caught bad guys, but I just want them to know I'm regular too." James knelt, smiling. Being regular and being special aren't opposites, buddy. You help make things better for lots of families. that's special. But you're also just Marcus, who likes Spider-Man and hates Brussels sprouts. That's regular. As the Justice Day celebration wound down, families and police officers worked side by side, sweeping, loading tables, and cleaning up, showing the depth of the community's restored trust. A bronze plaque commemorated the park's renaming, featuring a quote from Marcus's grand jury testimony: "Good always wins when people are brave enough to do what's right." Fresh flowers and a child's drawing of birthday cakes shared between police officers and families adorned the plaque, a symbol of resilience and transformation. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell remained in federal prison, serving the 5th year of her 25-year sentence. She continued to deny wrongdoing, blaming federal overreach, and would not be eligible for release until Marcus turned 34. Her absence, however, had allowed for healing, accountability, and institutional reform, restoring Baltimore's ability to host safe celebrations and trust its police. On the drive home, Marcus slept in the back seat, clutching an FBI-shaped balloon and wearing his Justice Day t-shirt. Outside, families and officers collaborated to secure the park, a visible reminder that justice had become lived reality, not abstraction. The destroyed birthday party had transformed into a symbol of resilience, accountability, and community power, impacting thousands across Baltimore. Fate Tales outro. If this story of real justice moved you, subscribe for more stories where accountability triumphs over corruption. Share this video everywhere. Let the world see what happens when communities fight back with courage and federal support. Comment below what should happen to officers who abuse their power. Like this video if you believe justice should be comprehensive and public. Your voice amplifies justice. This final chapter not only celebrates victory, but reinforces the Fate Tales ethos: courage, accountability, and the triumph of good over systemic abuse.